computer. Looks good to me. All right, Jeff, rock and roll. Do
Excellent.
you want to log
Everybody
in
should be.
first, or what do you think? Or nay? Do
What's that?
you want to log in first, or we're good to go from here? Oh, yeah, we're good to go from here. The login page is a login page.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the username and password. Basically, everybody can see my screen, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Excellent. So basically, this is the landing page as a provider signs in. There's a schedule area for someone who works at a front desk and things like that, and a billing section for people who work in billing. But as a provider, basically, they're just going to get a list of all their appointments for the day. Um, and there's different ways to group patients together on your appointment schedule, kind of touch when we get to the scheduling side. But basically, these are all my appointments, who's checked in. There's open appointments, meaning they're waiting to be checked in and so forth. But basically, this is my patient, the times that they're coming in. And when I click on a patient, I'll get all their current note information so I can quickly view or print any past note just by, selecting one of these options. I'll get some main patient information right here. What injury they're in for. There's some alerts like this one I kind of just set up just so it's like my authorization's expiring. So it's going to have this little blinking red dot next to it to let you know that something's expired, whether it be the plan or the eval the threshold amount or visit count or anything along those lines. You'll get a little alert blinking there to let you know.
Okay.
Now, one of the quickest methods. Now, there are ways to start notes. So if the patient's never been here before or anything, this would be empty. So you'd normally start by creating a note. But one of the options to help automate this process is the ability to copy over notes. So, I can just go back to any one of these past notes and just simply copy it over into a new note, and then any of that information will automatically just come over. It will update anything. If there are any notes in between there, you'll get things like updates to your goals and plan of care and so forth. But basically, I'm going to go right into the writing window with the information that was in that past note. So if I click in, any of that information will be there, and then you can kind of just change things as needed. There's some AI features, so you could just kind of come in, and if you wanted to, you can kind of just reword it. And it basically takes the same information and just kind of rewords it for you using, proper medical syntax and so forth.
Yeah. How's it do that?
So basically, it's going to take that through an AI prompt to say, something along the lines of, this is whatever type of therapy you're doing based on the patient's incident, whether it's occupational, speech. I'm this type of therapist doing X. Can you reword, something along those lines, the internal prompt for it. So that it takes exactly what you had in there and then just kind of rewords it in a sense to bring it back.
Is the internal prompt, is it customizable or is it just what's standard from your guys' backing?
Yeah, from the rewording, it's pretty standard. It's a
Okay.
standardized prompt so that we may make sure we get back, you know, pertinent results, which is something that just because sometimes, depending on the way the prompt is worded, you get back mixed results.
Of
So
course.
a lot of our prompts have been customized and tested over time to make sure that we're getting back proper results as
Yeah,
opposed to something odd, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
something yeah, just
for sure.
something like Jimmy, it's your professional physical therapy. This is the subjective part of the evaluation. Take this, stuff like that. We put that in there. What's interesting about the AIs, you tell it you're a professional, you tell it you're a professor, it'll actually act differently. So, it a higher level of research maybe in the background, kind of makes sense. So yeah, we craft the prompt to be what's most successful for the clients, and that's what we feed it in, and that's all through the back end.
Okay, nice.
And you also get these prompts up here. Some are automated, like authorization expired. It also alerts you if you have it set up to track RTM codes. It will tell you when you need. It's been 30 days. It's about time to reapply that code, depending on what you're doing. And then you have some custom ones because you can actually set up alerts on patient records to either show up in billing, whether it's documentation or on the schedule or in the patient record directly. And whenever you go to that section, those alert messages will pop up, and you have the option of either a warning or info box, so that the type will determine what color it is. So blue would be info, basically.
Okay.
I'm just going to remove those real quick just so we can focus on the note. Now, there are some other AI features in here. So, for example, there is the ability, if you have subjective information filled out and you have a diagnosis set up and patient has a birth date and things like that, you can actually just request range of motion measurements based on what you filled out. Now, of course, it will most likely default certain range measurements because you're going to have to fill those ones out yourself because I mean, it doesn't know those right off the bat. You're going to be taking those measurements, but it will at least fill you in a list of ones pertaining to your diagnosis with any other medical information to determine you need to measure these areas.
Okay. Are like the daily objective outcomes and range of motion, are all those like customizable in a sense like of what this table looks like? Or is it just
Yep.
a standard table?
So you can actually come in and determine what linkages you have based on service types. Like these are all going to be built in,
Okay.
but I could change them and I can set different values for them. And then that way it will pull these values for that specific site.
Gotcha.
Now, another one of the AI features would be goals, does something very similar in regards to looking at past information. If you do have range of motion values, there's a way to have it also create goals based on your range of motion values if you filled them out, as well as the patient diagnosis and so forth.
Okay. And then I see where it says like percentage completed. Is that automatically updated based on the objective measures that are being taken throughout the notes? Or is that just
This
like by
pers-
your change?
yeah, this is something that you would change. I don't believe it. Yeah, I don't believe it ties to any of your objective measures. Now we do
Okay.
have a bunch of different like outcome measures that you can fill out and stuff like that. So and you can mark ones as favorites, so that way those are the ones that pop up to the top of the list. But there's like a number of different outcome reports to fill out and so forth, and these can be attached to intakes that you could send to the patient. But basically, you just kind of like click on one and then it's going to pop over here and then you can kind of fill it out.
Okay.
I'm in my non-production server, so it takes a second for some of these. And then you just kind of go through. And the same thing would go if you attach this into a intake and the patient filled it out. It would actually show up already in your completed list with whatever the score was. You could print it out if you needed to view it and things like that, but it at least will already be here. You won't have to do it with the patient.
Okay, nice.
Plans of care. So basically, you're going to have different groupings of protocols of these are the codes I'm using and these are the exercises. There's a number of different ways to set this up because not every office runs the same, so it's kind of hard to be like everybody has to follow the way we think of this
Of course.
this aspect of it. So if you don't want to deal with exercises, you don't have to. You just deal with codes. But you can link multiple exercises up to codes, so that way when you come in for the day, if you haven't if you copied over a note that had services performed, those would automatically populate. But if you're picking for the first time, you would just kind of just come in and say, I did this, this, and this today. And that's basically it. Now you could change any of these values if you needed to. I did 12 minutes, I did 10 minutes, but that's basically just going to pop over to the perform today. So it's going to automatically get passed off to billing for you. And we'd already have this set up inside to handle codes, whether you set the patient up as a Medicare patient to use the Medicare 8-minute rule, or if you
Okay.
set up a patient to use the AMA rule. And it'll automatically distribute the units as needed.
Okay, nice. That's actually pretty cool.
Now, there's some other information up top that you can get. So if you are working with a PTA or anything like that, and you're writing this note and you want them to pick something up, you can just send them a message, pick that PTA, type them a message, send it, and then it will show up in their quick message thing, kind of like this. And then they would have the option just go directly to the document, sign it, do whatever they need to do on the document, whatever your message may be.
Okay.
Few other things. There are some other AI features, like for example, we had some customers who they didn't want to reword each section when they come in to start a note. They want to just reword the whole document at once. Just go through and reword everything in this document. And that's basically what this option will do. You click this, everything within the note will be rewritten through that using that same kind of function. And then you would just go through and preview it, make sure it looks okay. The other one is a check option, a quality check of the document. You can run this and it will go through and get your document together with everything you filled out, make sure that everything relates to one another. If it doesn't, it'll kind of alert you, kind of give you a grade on what they think your document is, and then present you with either recommendations to fix those documents. Why did I not able to check my document? I just did this like like 15 minutes ago. I wanted to make sure that I was logged in, making sure all my stuff was going to set up for this demo, and then it's not going to do it for me. There we go. So you can see here, it's like, this is your grade, and then these are, because my notes just all scattered. So it's telling me, my goals listed are repetitive and do not clearly differentiate. But it gives you recommendations on how to fix whatever might be wrong with your note, basically with a summary at the bottom.
Okay, that's actually really cool. Does that have like a because I'm trying to look at some of the recommendations on it. Does it have like anything regarding like medical necessity?
Yeah, as long as it's something that's part of your note, it will check for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it basically looks at the structure of the note and says, does this stuff all relate to one another? So it looks at all the different sections. Does this, because it'll check out, you have a diagnosis of this. Do these goals match that? Do these range of motion value, that type of stuff, to make sure that, everything relates to one another.
Nice.
Now, we have a bunch of different templates that you could choose from that look kind of like this. And there's a couple different ways, like everyone's got a different preview of what they want to view when they do documentation. So I have mine kind of set up in a tab view. So I could just kind of tab through my SOAP sections and fill out my data. There's different ways to have this where I can have more accordions where everything just kind of expands below one another as opposed to having tabs, and you can kind of scroll through it. And you could choose to have these expanded or closed like I do. I have mine kind of set up so that way when I go to each one, it just kind of jumps through them. So depending on how you have it set up, but this is fully customizable. So right now, you have a little lock up here. Most of the time when you're just in your note writing window, it's locked. But say, for example, I wanted to add maybe a date field or something like that to this section. So I can actually just click this little unlock key, and you'll see I'll get some extra icons on here. And now I can just go to this section. So I'm in the subjective section, and I'm going to go ahead and add a date field. And I can call it whatever I want. I could choose to specify whether this field is going to be required for me to fill out, or if I want it to print when I print the note. We have some therapists who put like a memo field at the bottom. They don't want it to print. It's for their own usage. It gets copied over from note to note to note, and they have their own little internal notes they can keep for themselves, that type of thing. Nice. But basically, you could just add it, and now I've got my new date field, with whatever label I gave it, and I can fill out a value to it. And you can make anything from grids to, drop downs with your own values in it. And you can put a picture on there if you want to. You can add pictures and things like that.
How easy is it to drop a file or a PDF, a picture or something like that into the note?
So for images, it's pretty straightforward. PDFs, you would normally just attach the document. So you would just come up here to the files area and just drag and drop your file into the files.
Okay.
Thing. But images, if you wanted to actually print on the document, maybe you want like something you could draw on or something like that. It's the same thing. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to actually create a component that's an image, and then it popped up on my other screen, but it's going to ask me to select an image and I'm just going to grab this thing. And then you can kind of adjust it to whatever size you want, because it's going to take on the size of the image that you've imported. So if it's, normally 600 by 400 is pretty standard. And then I can add that in, and now I have that image, and I can draw. Oops, let me lock this. I can draw on it. I can change my color palettes and sizes and whatever it is.
I know one thing on the other EMR system I've used in the past, like I ran into a problem because I was just trying to make it one single big text box and then just copy and pasting data straight over. And even the formatting that would change from the copy and paste over, it would smush it and have it like line by line instead of having adequate spacing. Does it still like if you copy it from, say, a Word doc of some sort, would it
So
compress
do I
all the
have,
lines together?
let me see here.
It's a very, I
I
mean,
know
it's a
it,
big deal, but it's something that I noticed with other EMRs that I've had
I'm
issues.
trying to, I'm not sure if it takes on the, because it is, you can see here, it's kind of like a word editor. I'm trying to find
Yeah.
it, see if I have a document. I know that,
Yeah, like copy and paste like some just text over into that doc and see if it spaces it correctly. Because in the one that I have, no matter what I did, no matter how I coded it or anything like that, it would still always keep it smushed together. Oh, cool. So it did space it out.
yeah, and it keeps, you can see here, it actually kept the red coloring and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Other
And then
EMRs,
if you wanted
yeah.
to, you can change it more, whatever you're trying to do with it. And you could draw, like I could draw tables in here and fill out tables and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'll just point out, so this is the editor window. You could do stuff like that. If it's just do I have one? That's just a text area. No. There's also a text area, which isn't an editor window. It's just a box to type in. That's going to be all scrunched together because it's just a text area, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But the editor window should allow for that. Another one of the features is so for example, say like that picture I did, I actually want to turn this into a component in here. I want these text boxes. Maybe it was from a document that I was using, or maybe it was another application I was using, but I kind of like the layout of this, how they had me fill out these check boxes or whatever it may be. You can actually create, let's just delete this. And I'm going to create one from, so we have a bunch of different templates that are already preset with all these different things. So if you're creating a template or anything like that, goals, that's our internal one. It's going to put a grid in there. It's going to put a secondary grid to compare values against. It's going to put in functions for AI and things like that. Same range of motion, that's our internal one. It's got all those extra features. If you were to build one on your own, you're just building a grid basically. But we do have a bunch of these already built, and one of them is the image converter. So I could basically come in and choose my file and upload it. And then what it will do is it will take that image and it will try to turn it into controls in the document for you, so that way it kind of mimics what you were doing with the fields that you want with labels and so forth. So this one takes a little bit longer because basically taking the image, it's converting it to HTML, and then it's going to tell you this is what it's going to kind of look like. And that's not exactly one-to-one. I mean, it's doing its best that it could from an image, but it's getting all the fields with field names and what they are, whether they're checkbox or something that you type in. And then you could just create that component. And now I have it in here, and I can go ahead and fill it out and check off things and whatever it is I need to do. And then basically finally you can set up digital signatures. So when you come in, you could basically just add your signature. If you want other people, like you're waiting for another person to finish, you could just sign it, or you can sign and finish it, which would complete it at that point. And then print wise, So depending on what you fill out, if you don't fill out an area, it's not going to print, stuff like that. But basically, you can choose to print these objective subjective headers. You can choose to print those or not print those. Um, you could choose to print the percentage. You could just choose to print just the goal. But basically, it'll just go down through, and whatever you had in that note, it'll go through and print. I didn't sign it, so I didn't put my signature on it, but for the most part. And of
Does
course, you can have your own logo print and stuff.
okay, does it just looking at this document, does it put the NPI of the clinic or anything like that still on the documents?
Yeah, the document information should be up at the top. I thought maybe it doesn't put the NPI. I thought it did. Oh, no, no, no. Sorry, that's when you sign it. Sorry, that's yeah.
Oh, it'll put it down
So
as a signature.
yeah, like it's gonna put your NPI in the signature block.
Okay. Um, because I'm curious because like a lot of times when we have our clinician sign, this signs with the clinical type 2 NPI, not the individual practitioner NPI. Does it still show that? Or is it just always individual practitioner NPI?
This is the individual. Now you can customize this whole header.
Okay,
So
so
you
probably
could
change it.
put an NPI number here at the top. We just didn't. It's like your custom thing and then your logo if you want it. So this
Okay.
could be a full custom header that you could put whatever you want in it.
Okay.
But yeah, down here it's going to automatically put the providers and then the referring physicians NPI.
Okay.
Any questions about any of that?
Now, when you go to do the printing, can you like select multiple notes at one time and export them all together, or do you got to do them like individually?
So from when I'm in this note, I'm just printing one. But if I'm in the patient's record or up here, I mean, if you're trying to print multiple, this is me looking at all my patients.
Yeah.
But from the actual patient's record, and I think there's an option under view all documents over here, but this is the one I know you can go to one patient, open up all their documents, and check off all the documents you want to print
Okay. And then they can just all export them.
into one PDF. Yeah. Same thing if we integrate with a company called Westfax, so I could also just check these off and then also just fax them
Okay.
off. And if you are integrated with Westfax, that can be done in here as well when you go to um, fax it instead of PDF print it.
Jeff, did we go over the way the charges get carried over when they're doing the documentation from the last visit to the current visit, so they have to redo any of that? The...
Yeah, yeah. When they copied, that was the first thing when we copied the
Oh, we
note
went
over
through
in
that.
the
Okay.
beginning. And then basically you pick what you did, adjust the time. We kind of covered that with the billing. At that point, it basically is, well, I didn't actually, let me just confirm these. So on the claims screen, those will all just be kind of waiting in pending for the provider or the biller to confirm your services. Just an area for them to be able to view everything that they're about to bill out, just to make sure everything's okay. There is an option to skip this step and have it just go to the billing side and they would just batch out the claim and send it. But this gives them an option to just make sure of a few things. You'll see here they have this little icon here telling me that the icon is, if it's just blue, it's just letting me know that this is a Medicare account. This one's green with that little slice of green. That's letting me know that I've set up to track the threshold on this account and the threshold is in good standing. They haven't hit their threshold, so I don't need to worry about KX modifiers. If it is someone who has hit their threshold, do I have one in here? So yeah, he's just a Medicare patient, not tracking. I don't know if I have someone. Yeah, it does not look like it. Otherwise, you have the option. If it's red, you could just click and it would add KX, or I could just click here and say apply KX to every one of those line items, and then
Okay,
it just kind of goes through.
that's nice.
Then if everything does check out, you would just check and move on to the next patient. I actually opened their record. Move on to the next patient. And there's some other things you could do from here. So let's see, with the little green check mark here, if I'm linked into the integration with the billing service, I can actually just check their benefits from here. Anything that has a green dollar sign means if I click on it, it's going to update. So if I click this, it would update my patient's copay to $15 for in-network visits, 50% for outpatient type thing.
Okay.
And we do offer all the different options. We normally, by default, just search physical therapy. Sometimes they stick it in like physical medicine, so you'd have to like look up, or professional office visit, and it will give you, you know. Now this is dummy data. I'll point out we're not actually linked because I'm not a valid provider, so I'm not going to get any valid information. But the clearinghouse service just sends me back dummy data just to give an idea of what you're going to have.
Is there like a function of where it can internally like verify the patient's insurance for their benefits?
Not automatically. They would have to at least click a button, and then it will come back and tell them if it's active, if they have a deductible, if they have copays.
Yeah,
But it
yeah,
doesn't
that's
just,
what I'm saying.
yeah. And there's a bunch of different places. You could do that here. You could do it from the patient record. You could do it from the schedule. So there's a bunch of different places you can verify that.
Okay, cool. That's nice. And then at the end of the years, like at the end of the policy of the year, does it kind of reset everything automatically? Do you have to go back in and kind
So
of read it manually?
as long as you've set up so let's see here. Now, normally start date would always be the beginning of the year. If you don't set this value, it's not going to reset it.
Okay.
But there are times someone's, you know, halfway through the year, they change insurances, that deductible start date could change from that
Yeah.
point. So, but yeah, as long as you're filling out this date, it will.
Okay.
And
With
then you
our
can kind of track it from inside the patient's injury record. So I started it at 3,000. You can adjust this because this is only going to be what they saw with you unless you update it from the benefit check. Because what's going to happen if they've been seen somewhere else, we don't know that until you've benefit checked or did anything. So if someone does that and they see, oh, well, they spent this much more over here, they can actually manually adjust this amount to adjust the remaining amount so that it matches what you're doing. Same thing with the threshold amount. Like, I don't know that they haven't been, if they've been seen somewhere else. So I'm going to start them from the standard, it's like 2050 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then if they've seen somewhere else, well, I need to adjust this. So that way I'm not going to have that extra chance of getting denied because I forgot to put my KX on because I wasn't tracking that value correctly.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a standard problem across all of them, all the EMRs.
Right.
Is
Yeah, you
they're
can't
gonna
tell
update
if they've been somewhere else. So
Yeah. With our clinic, we deal with a lot of out of network and like cash pay patients. What's like the super billing process kind of look like, or like adding the codes for, the out of network?
if you're gonna still bill a insurance out of network, that all the steps should be about the same. You might just have a different fee schedule, one for um, um, in network, one for out of network. You can create multiple fee schedules. Like we provide the codes, diagnosis codes, and all that, but we don't know what you charge.
Yeah.
So you have to tell us what you charge. Well, we want you to be able to have groupings of those. That's our fee class. So you could have a cash patient fee class and a Medicare fee class and a out of network fee class, and that way you set it up here inside the incident. And then whenever you do anything on this patient, it'll only ever pull services from that class. So you never have to worry about, did I pick the cash patient one or the out-of-network one? It will just automatically do that for you. Now, when it comes to cash patients, you just want to make sure that you set them up as a cash patient. So this you'd want to just set as cash patient. Because there are scenarios where they're 100% responsible, but they still have insurance.
Yeah.
Different scenarios. So cash patient, just make sure they're a cash patient. And then you can have, I don't, yeah, actually, just see it go. All right. You can actually customize your statements to include a lot more information for the patient so that if you do print them out something to pay, if you come up here to this wrench, so a default comment, that's going to be one that goes out on everybody's statement. But I can also go to each individual patient, put another comment, and it will only go to that one patient. So they would combine the two together. And then things like if you want to show any prior balances, so a statement I could say, just show them the month of January, but include their prior balance. That way on the statement, they only see the services for the month of January, but it will also include the balance prior to those January dates of service.
Okay. I may have missed this, but like when you're going through and you're printing these, does it show the codes that are attached for the statements that they're getting? Like the treatment codes, like are they showing like the fee schedules that's actually set up still? Because even if it's cash pay and you're still building out a network, it's usually the same. But um, because I know like right now we deal with that quite a bit, where it's like they pay cash for their services and then we send them the receipt, and on that receipt it'll have like, hey, you guys did 15 minutes of therapeutic exercise.
Oh yeah, that will be included on the statement. Yeah.
Okay, but it'll
Actually,
have
you could,
the code
yeah.
number.
So
Okay,
you
cool.
could choose to show those or not show those. I'll just point out that's up to you. And you can email statements to people. You don't have to print them out and stuff like that. If you set up an
Yeah.
email address, there's an option to email the statements. But you'll see here, I have mine kind of set up to where it's going to display everything. So
Yeah,
code, but I also have it set up to show any detailed payment information. So if there are any payments on line items, it will list that payment underneath the line item and where it's related, and of course, whatever the balance remaining is.
okay, nice. So with that being said, we deal with a lot of people who are buying like plan of cares, like packages, and then also
Mhm.
like memberships. Do you guys have any of that features that are associated with it?
So you can add any kind of charge you want. It doesn't have to have a CPT code. I could sell bottles of water at the front and apply a charge to the patient's account and charge their card and apply it to that charge. It doesn't go out on billing as long as it's set up that way. So in your fee record, there's an option to say print claim. And if you check that, that will mark the claim as billable. If you uncheck it, it just marks it as unbillable, which means it will never show up on a claim. It will never try to go out on a claim. But you could still apply payments to it and do all that stuff and track it. Because we have customers, same thing, they have gyms and they sell their gym membership and they just put the charge, build a statement, gym membership, and boom, you just apply the payment to it.
Okay. With regarding like the packages, can you sell packages like in this that has like a
I mean, you
redeemable?
could. So, I mean, you would create a charge for that package and name it something and apply that package to the account.
Okay,
And
but you would have to manually track it, is what you're saying?
well, you could bill that solid dollar amount, and then um, let me get to a record. Um, so you could apply a charge. Let's get in here. So you could apply a charge that's that grouping. You can call it package A and call it what the package is, and you can give it a description with as detailed as you want. But this is going to be what you charge and print on the statement. So you'll see here, print statement. So that's what I want to go out to the patient. But I can then apply all the codes individually that I say want to send out to insurance or something like that, that doesn't show up on the statement. So I would say don't show up on the statement. So when they got the statement, they would only see, package A, $75. That's all they'd see. But you would then have a breakdown of all the codes internally that don't go out on that statement. So you can look at it individually. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I guess what I'm asking, like, for example, we'll sell like packages of 12 sessions for a plan of care, and the systems automatically like notify us when the package is up or how many sessions they have remaining. Like, does it have a way where you can like it'll track how many sessions they've done of the packages that they purchased, or is it just kind of like you got to count it up yourself?
No, I think you could possibly use the authorizations for that. Like you could put in an authorization and call it package A and
Okay,
track it by date range and put how many, the visit count would be how many visits they get for the package.
exactly.
So,
Okay.
yeah, you could do that. There's a couple different places. This is the quickest one that I know. So you could put when it starts, when it ends. You don't need an authorization number for it, which means it won't go out on a claim or anything like that. How many they're allowed, and then it will track this and alert you when this date's coming up, when they've hit their visit, the count on that as well.
Okay. That's not bad. And then like just one more, since we're on the billing aspect, I know one thing that I always struggle with the EMRs, is there a way in here that you can see like expected versus like collective revenue?
But yeah,
Or that's
you'll
broken down
see.
like per clinician, per patient, or whatever?
Go back here. Here we go. So when you're looking at the fees, you'll have the amount you charge and then what's allowed by the insurance company.
Yep.
So you can set that up ahead of time. And if it's set up ahead of time, we basically take the percentage from that allowed amount. So we can take a percentage copay, and and deductible, by the way, and cap amount all come from the allowed amount. They don't come from what you charge, because
Yeah.
what you charge isn't what's going to the insurance. Now, if you don't fill these out and you are linked into our billing service, when you apply an ERA, it will automatically update that allowed amount based on what the ERA states. Because we're a full ANSI compliant system, so we track all adjustments, reason codes, and everything. So if you need to generate secondary claims, we can build a secondary claim because we have the adjustments, the amounts, and everything. We write everything into the claim file. It doesn't need to be dumped to paper. So because of that, we track the allowed amount as well because we need that value when we.
Okay. With this, like you're showing it in as an individual patient, can you show it like on a monthly basis of what the clinic done as a whole?
Sure. That would be more reports kind of area. I mean, we do have grids. Like if I wanted to see everything I billed really quickly for the last month, I would come to my claim listing, pick that date period and go. And then that's everything I billed for that time period, or that's the balance. That's how much I billed. That's what my balance is. But if you want it more in a report, of course, it's all in one. So I can come in and say, let me just get a summation report by, I can go, let's just do the account type, go back to whatever date range you want, the month or whatever it may be. And we have different ones that break it down. This is more of a summing. So account type, this is grouping it by office. Account type, this is the patient. Were they a new patient? How many visits? Charge count, how many charges were applied, how many units, how much was charged, INS amounts paid towards those line items, so on and so forth.
Okay, cool.
But then we have it, things like age balance. I want to actually go by insurance and get more of a bucket report of where my balances are. And you can also, these reports are interactive. So if I'm looking at that, I'm going, wow, that's a little bit more. I could just pop right to their account and start checking to see what's going on.
Okay.
But I think there's about 130 different reports, plus a lot of the windows. Like a lot of the grids will have options to export to Excel. And then we also create some things called custom queries, because sometimes, you know, everybody kind of wants different things. So I've had customers who work with our support staff who were like, you know, I want this information on this report and this information on the other report. So we create them basically like a custom query into the system that allows them to come in. They get saved in here. You pick it, you can put in a day range and run it. It loads into a grid, and then you can export it out to Excel and do things like that with it. Any other questions about that?
No, that's I like that. It just seems like it with going through all the different um openings, it just seems like it becomes like a lot, like pretty confusing. I guess it's just
So
because
most of the
there's way
time,
more
yeah, when
information.
I was jumping around, I could see that. But most of the time, you're going to mainly, as a provider, just be dealing with this.
Yeah.
And you're going to come in and you're going to say, okay, this is my note. I'm either going to continue it, or I'm going to copy it over, or I'm going to create a new one.
Yeah.
And you can mark ones for favorites so that way they're automatically here, and I can just select it, open it, and then I'm doing their note, you know. A lot of the times those windows, like if I wanted to get stuff, like if I want to look at this patient's account, I wouldn't open up another tab or do anything like that. I would just open up their account. Yeah, I'm still in my document window. I can make any changes or fixes from here. And you could do this from a lot of different windows. The idea is to get you to not have to go from page to page to page. It's just like this, everything you need is right here. You don't have
Yeah.
to go anywhere else.
Nice.
And the same thing if they're on the schedule, like, you know, it's all straight drag and drop scheduling. So, and I only have 2 people, but you can have as many people as you want on the schedule. But, you know, they could do everything from here. I can view that same thing. I can go view their incident and, you know, it pops up and I can work in it. And I haven't left the schedule, you know. But you could do other things, print their notes and um, charge their card. They can easily see if they owe money. You know, they have a balance. Do they have a copay? So that way, when they're checking them in, they could say, "Oh, you know, let's collect your copay," that type of stuff. So you're not catching them on the way out or something like that.
Do patients get access to their like accounts? Like, can they go log in on their user end and see like how much their balance is or like their
Yeah, that's
Yep.
the
documentation?
patient
If they
portal.
sign up for a patient portal account, they can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a portal software so they can have a portal and get statements, pay bills, things like that.
Okay.
What about communication with patients? Is there any way to communicate, like text messages, emails? If
So
it,
if they are set up in the portal, you can communicate with them directly through the portal, and you can send information back and forth because it's a HIPAA compliant portal account. So you would come into your communications and go to mail, and any of the patient accounts that are set up, you'll have the option to mark them as someone to send a message to under the new message.
And these are encrypted. Obviously, they're HIPAA compliant. We also have text message and email reminders that get set on a certain tempo and cadence, and the thing will do, you know, robotic reminders, text through, and an email as well, and or.
And attachments and stuff. And if they log into the portal, they can send you guys messages as well. Then we do, you know, appointment reminder messages, which are text messages that go out to people to remind them of their appointments. And then internally with your users, you have like an instant chat where you could just communicate with them directly, like a pop up, like a text message, basically.
Mm-hmm. With like the appointment reminders and everything like that, like is it pretty customizable in the sense of what you can build from like automations, reminders, labeling patients? I know one thing that my clinic has started doing is we like labeled someone as a discharge, it would set a trigger, and then the trigger 30 days later would kind of message them, text them, and check in on them, like, hey, John, it's been 30 days since your last appointment. We know we worked on the shoulder. We just want to check in and see how the shoulder's feeling. Like, is there any way to have some sort of like either integration or automation process that builds into it like that?
I mean, it's probably doable. I don't think it does that exactly right now. You can customize your messages and all that type of stuff. You can send out one, but I don't believe that they have something like that where it's like if you have a discharge date 30 days after that discharge date, then do
It
something.
triggers. Okay.
But I mean, the great thing about it is that the software is always evolving. So we're constantly adding features. Thankfully, like our full development staff is here in the States, and
Victory
we
team.
work together, and we don't have to wait months to get stuff done to wait for somebody else to get things completed. We get to do
Yeah.
it ourselves. So
I know you're saying like with the messaging system, like it being all HIPAA compliant, but it's not like an SMS, correct? Is it just
so
sent to the
the
portal of the patient and they get a notification on their portal messaging, or is it like to
no
their text?
so the appointment reminder is text or email, or you could do both. The portal, it goes to the message in the portal, and then the portal sends out a message to the patient telling them that they have a message at the portal,
Okay.
and then they have to log in the portal to view it.
Okay.
For the text messages to go out, which phone number are they using?
It would be the phone number that you set up under cell phone. So when you're setting up a patient record,
Sorry, no, the phone number for the clinic. Is it just some random 800, number that you guys are
um,
assigning, or is it the phone number
I
of the clinic?
so I don't believe it's the phone number of the clinic. It's a random number, but I do know that you could set up addresses that can retrieve back replies from the text messages. So if they do reply to the text message, you would get that message. But it doesn't go, yeah, it doesn't go back to your office number. It doesn't come from your office number, shall I say.
Okay.
All right, so let's see. Um, but yeah, the scheduling, you could set up different colors. You could set up groups, which would be secondary colors on the appointment. You can create recurring appointments. Let me just edit this one. But you could set up, so groups are something you create and you assign colors to, and they could be whatever you want them to be. But it will show up in multiple places. Um, on the schedule, I'm going to get a two separate color on my appointment. So I should know right away what that is. If not, you'll get some of that information over here as well. But when the provider comes in and they see that, they'll get that same group color with the description of it here. So if there's certain like groupings of patients that you want to set up and stuff like that, you can create those on your own.
Okay.
But it's all
Yes.
pretty much, drag and drop. Or
Sorry,
do I
quick
not
question.
have it set up?
For
I'm
scheduling,
sorry?
is there a way to integrate with something like Outlook Calendar or Google Calendar?
Um, I don't think there currently is. It's more of an internal scheduler. I think that you can, want to say I vaguely remember them making their ICS exports, I think is what the file is called, which I think is imported into Outlook. But
Got it.
I do apologize. I didn't do the development on the scheduling, and I'm not 100%. I know for the most of the basic stuff in there, but I vaguely remember something about an ICS file being able to be created or something.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Because like the software that we use right now, it does have a Google Calendar two-way. So if you edit on your Google Calendar, it'll pop up on the actual patient's, I mean the internal EMR calendar and vice versa. And a lot of our clinicians actually manage a lot of their life just through their Google Calendar itself, and they know when they got patients, when they got breaks, when they can block things off, and it transfers it over to the
I
EMR.
see, yeah. I don't know, I'd have to talk to the developer on that side. But I mean, it. I would. I know that we were. You remember, Jeff? Didn't we have like some integration to Google at some point?
Yeah, I think way back, Jeff handles the billing, the documentation development. There are other developers like the network topology, scheduling, and the portal. They knows obviously intimate. They, of course, they contribute to all of it. Um, I think so. Yeah, we'll have to get
But
back to
I'll
you about
double
that.
check on that for you because
Yeah.
um, I'm not sure if Chrome allowed
I'd
or
have to say no to start with. I wouldn't want a false
yeah,
impression that
that's
we
what I was
do it.
saying.
Yeah, it's a good idea though.
But I want to. I'd have to double check and see. But I do know that there at one point there was a Google API connection a while back. I think it had something to do with the Google Docs. But
When a patient gets scheduled for an appointment, do they get like a invite to it and that they can put onto the calendars or anything like that? Because I know a lot of our patients, particularly, they run their life off a calendar, and then once they get an appointment set, it'll send them and they'll add that appointment to their Google Calendar, their
I
Apple
think on
Calendar.
iPhones, it, when you get the message in, I think you can attach it to your calendar.
Okay.
I see because when you send them an intake, they get something on their phone, but it takes them to an external site that they go through the intake on. So it's not. I mean, they're on a web browser, so to speak, so they're not really like inside one of the apps on the phone, like the native app, like a text messenger or something that's related to the calendar on the Apple iPhone.
Okay.
That's the one thing about some of those is like Android, they make it easy. You don't have to do much. You can create something and make a link to it. But Apple, to do anything, you have to you have to pay for this service. They have to approve your testing for any kind of direct internal application communication. It's not something you could just develop and do it without their permission, so to speak. But most of the scheduling, is like double click. You can if it's a brand new patient just coming in, you would, add the new patient and schedule the appointment and do everything at once using this option. So, creating their code, that can be auto-filled. You could type it out yourself if you want.
Is there
Or
any
have the
self fill out intake that people can do in the office, or it's all sort of in the front desk?
Nope.
Or
So you would create the intake for them, and then it gives you a barcode that they could scan onto. You could have a tablet or a phone or whatever, and they could just scan the barcode and do the intake right there if they wanted. Or you could have a tablet at the front that you just scan the barcode and it opens up their intake, and you can hand it to them and they can do it from there.
Can't they do the intake through the portal too, so you could do it at home?
Yeah, but she was saying in the office. If
Oh,
they're
my
in the
mistake. Oh, I
office,
misheard
yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, got
yeah.
it.
If they're in the office right there, it's like, oh yeah, here, just fill this out right now.
Joe, how are you? How's the foot feeling?
And then, we kind of touched on the billing a little bit, getting out the claims, but it also handles the ERA posting for payments and stuff as well on the way back. So normally you would just kind of come in and say, give me everything that's new from the last time I checked, go. You get a list of those ERAs. You click you can download the actual PDF if you wanted to, which would be like the PDF version of the ERA. Otherwise, it would just be the download option, and it would read in the ERA. I could see it was processed as primary. I could see all the services. This is what they paid as a whole. This is what they paid per line item. And then I could see all my adjustments and reason codes if I wanted to get into all the detailed information from it. Now, if you did have, most of my stuff's dummy data, so I only have the one person, but otherwise you'd have 50 people in here or whatever it may be. This would tell you if it's denied or not, so you can track your denials. You can also search for your denials. But I can simply just post all my transactions. it'll come through. If you do have multiple people working on this, it will stop them. Like, so as soon as I finish my post and if someone else tried to post, it would tell them. So you can see here, it's posted successfully. All my transactions were posted. But if someone else, or even if I open this up at a later date and try to post it again, it's going to tell you, hey, you can't. This has already been posted, so you're not going to double post things and stuff like that. So if you do have multiple people working who aren't necessarily in the office at the same time, you won't have any issues about deleting payments and all that other stuff. Any other questions about anything? Maybe something that you're doing now that I didn't cover that you'd be curious what the steps would be?
I mean, honestly, a lot of the curiosity comes through like the flexibility of the software. When it comes to like, acquiring like API calls, doing like webhooks or anything like that, does it have a feature or where that it has the capabilities of doing stuff like that?
Oh yeah, our support staff can help create stuff and do things depending on the integration, what you're exactly looking for. We've done integrations with other companies for our customers, like I know that they're working on one for one of our customers in Arizona for their CRM service. Their CRM service handles um, um, faxes from referrals, and then the CRM imports in that patient, and then they're basically sending us that patient information with the documents that they filled out through their CRM. So, I mean, we do stuff like that. That's one of the luxuries of having our own in-house development staff. But it really also depends on the third party. Well, like, what are they requiring? What are they allowing us to do? And stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of it seems like the CRMs and everyone's going moving to is like the go high level, and it's just easy to send out webhooks and make automations and triggers. Um, so I mean, as long as they can get the API call from it and send it, it should be, hopefully it would be pretty easy to put
Yeah, it's
together.
more about how they're sending the format of the data. If they're sending it to us, because we have to handle it,
Mhm.
depending on whether they're just sending a JSON string or an object or whatnot.
Gotcha.
Um, if it's us going out to other people, it also comes down to what format do they want it in? What is the order? So most of the time, all that stuff's possible. It's just a matter of how they want it formatted. At us being the third party, a lot of times, like CRM's a little bit different. A lot of times CRMs, you're just basically dealing with, tracking information. Maybe you've got it set up for a certain office of manufacturing or sales or something like that. When you get in here, sometimes they're sending medical information, and we can't just go through just regular webhooks and things. There has to be a little bit tighter security in regards to that. We also have to get in business agreements set up with these companies, especially if medical information is being sent. They have to sign our HIPAA compliance forms, and I'm sure we have to sign theirs.
With the
So it's a
BAs
little bit different than a CRM where I could just go in and create one and it's done. I don't have to talk to anybody. For us, it's a little bit more involved because we need to know, well, what's coming over? How's it coming over? We want to make sure that you have a good experience with it versus, oh, they sent me something I have and it doesn't know what to do with it.
Is there like an online scheduling function to the CR I mean
Yep.
to the EMR?
Yeah, so you can go, I think it's here. Or no, maybe, is it here? No, there's a link you can post to your website that allows them to, it's on the schedule. So schedule, wrench. So this is the link you want to set up on your website,
Yeah, that you
and that
got
will
it.
give them an option to book appointments based on a provider's availability. You do want to make sure that you set up provider schedules if you want them to do this, because otherwise they'll just be booking possibly times when the provider's not in the office, stuff like
Mhm.
that.
What's that link actually look like? Are you able to view that?
Um, I might be able to force it. Um, did it put it in? Um, Trying to see, did it put it in there? I don't know. I tried to just force it into my page to see if it worked. It didn't seem to work. Oh, look, it's like broken up at the top.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know,
sorry, I don't have the ability to just post it right there.
oh, good. I know this will probably be like more of like a personal question with the things that I'm trying to particularly do. Like if I wanted this EMR to act like as like a clinical like backbone to the whole operating system of the business itself, with
Hmm.
with automation, with AI, with multi-services that we offer, with multi-locations, like at what point or where would the EMR system just not be the best for that? Like where's the breaking point? Does that make sense?
Um,
Because there's a point where like, the EMR just probably won't work well within a entirety of a system because most EMRs are just so isolated compared to
yeah,
CRMs,
they're
patient
designed for
journeys.
specific functions and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say exactly just because I'm not 100% familiar with all the steps of your office, like what your each department does and goes through and stuff like that. I would
Yeah.
assume, um, hmm,
Well, one thing I wanted to mention too is our newest version has a dynamic documentation creator, so you can create whatever template you want. The template's
Yeah.
up to you. You can move boxes around and things, so you could label it what you want, the tests what you want. It's kind of like not quite, but somewhat like using Word to do it. So and then you save the template, then you just keep recalling it up.
Okay.
right, with the
So that
document.
covers a lot of it because we had that too. There was speech needed certain things, occupational needed certain things, pediatric needed certain things, and so the version, like I said, will we're in the final testing of it. It's actually out there with about a few of our clients where the documents are basically all template driven, and you just rework the template to make it work. I'm sure there's a situation it won't work. I don't know what that is.
Right. But in regards to, the question, I would say that the one thing that it's bank integration. It's one thing that I think we don't really do.
What
Integrate
was that part?
with we don't like integrate with banks. We don't do bank integration.
Okay.
That's the only thing I can like off the top of my head, not knowing exactly, your whole office structure and stuff, just going based on what I would see. Like I've had people ask, but banks are interesting. There's tons of them, and it's kind of hard to be like, well, if you want to work with us, you have to go to these one or two banks we integrate with. So you got to move your. So it's not something that we really address because it becomes too much at that point.
Yeah, for sure. With like payments and stuff like that, when a balance is due, can you send out like just a text reminder to pay their bill, an email reminder to have them pay their bill if it's like a
Yeah,
decline card or something like that that's on file?
I yeah, I think that happens if they're linked to the portal. It tells them when there's balance available to them, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. Um, there's Yeah, it's if they have a balance due and if they have a message waiting, they should be getting an email about those.
Okay. And then with the payment processing systems, like who is it ran through? Then like how much is like the credit card fees with it?
So we integrate with a couple companies. One's I think it's Fiserv or Card Connect is what it's called, and then the other one is Nuve, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that they're competitive. They're like, from my understanding, they say we'll either meet or beat your price. So at the worst case, you're paying the same amount that you're paying now.
Okay. And you,
but
but
I'm
you
not
don't
sure who.
know actual percentages of what those are. I think the one that we currently pay is like 2.6% on credit card
Yeah,
process.
I could find out exactly. I just don't know off the top of my head. But give me 1 second. I can actually find out for you because I just saw the person who would be able to tell me that walk by. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, because I just haven't heard of those particular companies.
So yeah, they said 2.8, 2.9%, but they have gotten people who've gotten lower prices based on their prior service that they've swapped from.
Okay, and then I mean, I'm sure this is probably a question for them, but like transaction volume, if it's, exceeding like $1 million or what have you, sure it's negotiable.
Yeah, I'm sure it's negotiable. Yeah, I would say
For
this
them.
about those. Most of those credit card processes all pretty much work the same. I
Yeah.
know that after we started, like we kept having people ask us to integrate into other ones, and we kept finding they're all the same pretty much. I mean, for the most part, they charge about the same, or one's going to beat the other one. Some might. I know that the two that we integrate with, from my understanding, are supposed to be the most popular two, as opposed to like I think what's it called? Swipe, not swipe.
Right.
Stripe. There you go. Yeah.
All right, brother. I guess I mean that's really all the questions I have, honestly.
Awesome.
All right, Jimmy, sounds good. Glad we got that all your details taken care of there. Anything else anyone like to know, or pretty much quite a bit of info, huh?
This was very comprehensive. Thank you.
Yeah, they do quite a bit. It does a ton, and there's a ton more too. We could go for hours and hours. You drill down into the details and some of the esoteric things. I'm going to save the recording. I think everybody gets a copy. If not, just let me know, and then I'll email a link, or maybe I'll just post it on YouTube as well. I could do that as well. Put it on a private link so you could view it later. Um, well, yeah. Any other information, Jimmy, Morris, everyone? Thank you very much. Yeah, sounds good, and have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
All right.
Take care. Good
Thanks
talking
for
with
your
you.
time.
All right. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Thank you, Jeff, too. Bye-bye.
Yeah, no problem.